Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the most electrifying podcast in all of internet radio today. You are listening to the Sports Wire. My name is Vinny Apicella, and I am here with you, sitting here in my lovely abode in beautiful, historic New Britain, Connecticut, and still under self-isolation, social distancing rules. It is now Saturday, the 28th of March 2020 at 6:23 a.m. And I gotta say, today's episode, I gotta talk about the differences between wrestling past and wrestling present. WWE just released on WWE Network the 10 biggest matches in WrestleMania history. It's 5 hours and 41 minutes and 1 second. And I just watched the first two matches. Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant from WrestleMania 3, and then Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock for the WWE Championship from WrestleMania 17. The second of their three WrestleMania matches. Main event matches, I believe. But here's the thing, okay? Obviously, Hogan and Andre was for the WWE Championship as well. But here's the thing, okay? You will never, ever, ever see any matches that have that psychology anymore. Like, you go through and you know when you have them. Guys like Hogan, guys like Austin and The Rock, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, they perform at a high, even Triple H for that matter, John Cena, but they perform at such a high level. And the psychology of the matches are there, where it draws it just draws the people in. I just want to give a quick, I haven't watched the whole thing, but here are all the matches that they have listed. Hogan, Andre, WrestleMania 3, Stone Cold and The Rock, WrestleMania 17, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 26, which was their streak versus career match. Hogan versus The Warrior at WrestleMania 6. Then you had WrestleMania 31, which I believe was Brock Lesnar defending against, was it Roman Reigns at 31? Yes, it was, where Seth Rollins cashed in the Money in the Bank. The Rock versus Hollywood Hogan at WrestleMania 18. Batista versus Orton versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. John Cena versus The Rock at WrestleMania 28. Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels, the Iron Man match from WrestleMania 12, which is probably why it's 5 hours, almost 6 hours long. And then Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 35. Those are, according to the WWE Network, the top 10 biggest matches in WrestleMania history. And you know what? I have to agree with just about all of them. Maybe not the Roman Brock match from WrestleMania 31. That's, I don't know. That one I would probably have put the Undertaker Triple H Hell in a Cell from WrestleMania 28, where, you know, it was the end of the era match. That match was full of all kinds of psychology and stuff. But like I said, there's no psychology in the business today. Like, you have guys that are flip-flop and fly, okay? You know, you look at All Elite Wrestling, Jericho's not really a high flyer. He does a couple things, but which is fine. But when you look at like an Omega match, like Omega or the Bucks or, you know, the newer crop of wrestlers, all they care about is flip-flop and fly. And, you know, the audience, you know, this is awesome, when it's really not. I mean, yeah, it's cool to watch and it's great athleticism. I'm not denying that. But it takes you out of the match. It doesn't give you any reason to emotionally invest in anybody. I honestly feel like there's just too much. There's too much of a lack of psychology in wrestling nowadays. You even see it in WWE. I'm not, you know, just saying it's all AEW, but even in the WWE, when you have, you know, a lot of, you know, the guys with the flipping and everything, and a Brock Lesnar match is usually suplex, 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 pin. There's not much psychology to it. I am anxious to see how, how the Undertaker and AJ Styles is going to go. Those two, it's going to be like Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, even though Undertaker's a little older. But I think Undertaker and AJ Styles is going to be fantastic from this year's card of non-WrestleMania. That's what I'm going to call it, non-WrestleMania. There's been so many changes to the card because of this COVID-19. Obviously, it's not going to be in Tampa Bay. Obviously, it's going to be pre-recorded over 2 days. There's no fans, closed sets. But listen, Roman Reigns is no longer in the title match against Goldberg. He was replaced by, if you don't want to hear spoiler, you know what, I'm not going to give it away. I've read the news. I don't want to know the spoilers about who wins or whatever. But Roman Reigns is no longer on WrestleMania. Bobby Lashley was quarantined for 2 weeks before his match with Aleister Black, which that's such a clash of styles. I don't even know why it's on WrestleMania in the first place. There really was no build-up for it. Undertaker and AJ Styles, obviously you have that match. The Miz not competing at WrestleMania, so I don't know what's happening with the tag team match. Miz Morrison defending against either the New Day or the Usos. They were going to wrestle on SmackDown last night, which I didn't watch. I'll watch that today. But it's just amazing to me. And then you had Dana Brooke and Rey Mysterio, who were both put in isolation. Andrade as well in isolation. So he was replaced in the tag team title match with the Street Profits tagging with Angel Garza. There's a replacement there. So a lot of changes on the WrestleMania card due to this COVID-19. Honestly, in my opinion now, like I said, and I've said this for the past week, I applaud WWE and AEW for going forward, putting on shows to entertain us and taping with closed arenas, closed off to the public, and just the essential personnel. I get it, and I appreciate them wanting to do that. At this point, though, I would have canceled WrestleMania and postponed it because now it's changed so much. Storylines aren't going to matter anyways, and it's really not going to be what it was meant to be. This COVID-19, this coronavirus disease of 2019 has really wreaked havoc on our daily lives. And now it's more prevalent. I think the better thing would have been done would be to just postpone WrestleMania. And that's, in my opinion, what would have been the best bet at this time. You can still have the matches and stuff, but don't call it WrestleMania because it's not. It's a mock WrestleMania, and it's sad, and I appreciate Vince wanting to go through with it, but at some point, even Vince McMahon himself has to say that this illness, which he views as a weakness, okay, somebody for a guy who hates people sneezing in front of him. Okay, he's got to understand that this illness is real, which I'm sure he knows it's real. But I mean, he's got to put the kind of put the respect of the brand in front of at top priority. Because while we applaud you for going on with the show, you got to kind of step back and be like, you know what, we want to have it bigger than what it is. At this point, it's looking like SummerSlam is going to be the bigger pay-per-view this year because SummerSlam is going to have the Hall of Fame, from what I've heard, and so on and so forth. So, NXT TakeOver UK, I think it was Blackpool or whatever, was pushed back till July. All this other stuff, Hall of Fame, and it was pushed back to SummerSlam weekend, I believe. So, all this stuff that's going on, I appreciate them wanting to do that, but you know what? How about putting on some clip shows where you could put it together in the the edit suite. Let the guys stay home with their families during this time instead of traveling. Which I feel is why they're taping so much pre-taped in advance. I get that, and I understand and appreciate that. But now it's to the point where, okay, if you're going to run out of Raws and SmackDowns in the can, let's put some classic stuff on. Let's put some classic shows on USA and Fox, and kind of bring some of the casual fans back, because while everybody's at home doing nothing, flipping through the channels, if you're gonna go through, and I'm gonna go through and catch, you know what? Hey, holy crap! It's the NWO. It's when Hogan turned on Savage at Bash of the Beach '96. It's on Monday Night Raw. Could you imagine what kind of audience that would bring people in, bring people back? Like, holy crap! This is the genesis of the NWO. The I don't want to say the best faction in history, but definitely the faction that changed wrestling history. The creation of it. And or even better, put the Montreal Screwjob up there. Like the biggest double crosses, or the biggest screw jobs, or whatever, or the biggest turns. You put Austin and Bret Hart for WrestleMania 13, where it was a double turn. Put some of that classic stuff on Raw and SmackDown and NXT for the most part. Put some FCW stuff on NXT, but for Raw and SmackDown, put some of the classic stuff from the archives. You have a ton of archives. You could help. You could put Flair Steamboat, on one of the shows. And just to get people in. You could provide new commentary. You could have, Michael Cole and Corey Graves, or, do commentary over something. Or just leave the commentary as is, because a lot of times the commentary brings it what it is. I honestly feel like that would be the better way to do things at this point. That's my opinion. I don't work for the WWE. That's why my bank account doesn't show multi-millions of dollars, but that would be my idea. All Elite Wrestling Dynamite this past week. I gotta say this. Like I said, I appreciate them wanting to put on the shows to, keep our minds off this stuff, but they lost it with me this week. The majority of the show was good. I didn't like, and I mentioned this yesterday, I didn't like Kenny Omega on commentary, because he just doesn't bring any excitement to it. Tony Schiavone's great, and I honestly feel like it should have been Tony Schiavone and Taz for the show. But Omega just doesn't have the excitement, the energy behind it, and just like, no. Omega's got to stay off. Cody Rhodes did a good job on color. Or Cody, I should say. Did a great job on color. But not Omega. Omega Guevara match was great. Was as good as it's going to be. Guevara is just freaking awesome. I do see what people say when they say he's the next Eddie Guerrero. Just fantastic all around. Great athlete. With being under Chris Jericho's wing in the Inner Circle, he's just going to get better. Absolutely. I'm big on Sam Guevara. Let's see. You also had... Now, you had Chris Jericho and Matt Hardy, broken Matt Hardy, in a confrontation. This is where it went to shit. Just to be honest. This is where it went to shit. Okay? You had... Now, I understand the broken world and broken universe and the idea of Matt Hardy have magical powers and stuff, but which we've seen in the past with The Undertaker and Kane and stuff. However, I didn't like the teleportation of Matt Hardy. In the teleportation of Matt Hardy during the segment, and you could tell it was bouncing from different camera shots, and it was bouncing from tape to tape, and, was not edited together very well because the camera kind of changed a little bit. It was hokey. It really was. And then, I didn't care so much about Matt Hardy having the supernatural power to have the pyro go off. We've seen that with The Undertaker and Kane. And, fine. That's a good art of storytelling. But with the teleportation, have it done where it's a pre-tape. Where like, it's easier to suspend your disbelief when you already know it's a pre-tape. If it was done in the Hardy compound, and you're doing it there, it's easier. And make sure the camera angles and the camera doesn't change. Make sure everybody's in the same spot. That's kind of what took you out of it, was that you knew it was pre-taped, and supposed to be on a live show. You know what I mean? That's where it got kind of bad. Matt Hardy is awesome on the mic, and so is Jericho. I can't say much more about that. Jericho yelling at Vanguard 1 was just fantastic. Jericho is great. Matt Hardy is great on the mic, and especially with this broken brilliance. I'm really high on it. I didn't like the teleportation, though. I thought it was just really hokey. But, that's it for now. We'll be back tomorrow, Sunday morning. Let's see how things go again. My name is Vinny Apicella. Thank you for listening to the Sports Wire on Monday or like I said, on Monday or Tuesday, depending on when the show drops. I will have a guest on, Bubba Collins from Memory Lane podcast. Go check it out. That's usually where I get my legitimate sports news. But check it out, Memory Lane podcast. You could go ahead and subscribe to that on Apple Podcasts and wherever else you find your favorite podcast. And, of course, subscribe to the Sports Wire anywhere you find your favorite podcasts. Or you can go to sportswireaudio.com. That brings us to our anchor.fm page. Email us, sportswireaudio@gmail.com. You can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at @VApicellaSWE. And then follow the Sports Wire on Twitter and Instagram at SportsWireAudio. Thank you for listening. I'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy your day, folks. Stay socially distant. Or should I say stay physically distant but socially connected. There you go. Have a great day, everybody.